Welcome to the 7th episode of the 344 Show, where I have Rob Fenstermaker, who is all about building kingdoms, and he's going to tell us about his approach to, making that happen, who he works with, and why you ought to, join him on a journey to make your kingdom roll. So I want to say welcome to anybody who's hanging out with us today, and to just say, man, making a live show that rolls every day is something. And I want to say, for anybody who's taking the next 15 minutes with us to hang out a little bit, let's do it. So without further ado, because we don't have a lot of time, we're going to jump in, and I'm going to ask Rob a whole bunch of questions about how does he approach this thing. So Rob, tell me, let's just start out, who do you like to work with? Of all the people in the world, who's your customer?
My customer is men, my men, because one, I'm a man, but I really resonate with men. And the man that I'm really resonate with most is that man who's probably in his mid to late 30s, in his 50s. He has that corporate existence, married, children, and maybe life has just taken its pound of flesh out of him. And he's wrapped himself up too much in that 9-to-5 existence, because that we men, that's what we're good at. We're really good at identifying ourselves with that 9-to-5. And, when that 9-to-5 that's all you are, or maybe it gets pulled out from under you, we kind of lose that identity of who we are. And that's one thing I've seen a lot of men struggle with, is just that identity of what it means to be a man, and this idea of manhood. And those are the men I really love to work with, to help them to re-envision who they are, help them to understand the unique creation they are, and to live their life in a way that I say is kingdom building.
Okay. So now, does this man, is he U.S.? Is he anywhere in the world? Is he young, old? Does he have kids? I mean, where, to go down that deep, or
well, I'm obviously in the States. I, primarily focus, with men here in the States, but, I've certainly have had conversations with other men that are overseas. But primarily, the men I have worked with have been here in the States.
Okay. So men in the States. All right. And then, and just to reiterate, so they've got this 9-to-5, right?
Yeah.
And they're just like, oh, brother.
Yeah.
Right.
Because that's where I was. I mean, that's where I was, a good, 15 years ago. I was just, stuck in this 9-to-5 existence. And it was, I would come home from work and I was just exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
And, I get to Friday. I'm like, all right, finally, I get a little reprieve.
Yeah.
And, Sunday afternoon would roll around. I know, here we go again.
Yeah.
And, I read a study that, in the men, the depression in men really happens, in that when they get in that wrapped up with that, lost that identity. And Sunday can be some of the hardest days for men, because they know they got to go back into a job that they're maybe not crazy about, that maybe is just not feeding them spiritually. And they're just looking for something more. And, that's where I was. And I had the opportunity to kind of break that, create a mind shift change in how I approach things.
Yeah.
And it served me quite well.
Right. So I went out to your website, and you have this big quote that was really formative for you. Can you talk to me a little bit about how that came to you and what that meant?
Well, it's the LP Jacks quote that, when somebody is, living and recreating in a way that they love both, you can't tell what they're doing. And and that's what, life is about, is just taking the opportunity of what you have and making the most out of it. Let's not just identify with who we are in our 9-to-5, and let's just not identify with what we do on the weekends. We got to live life holistically. And that's when I work with my clients, that's what I want them to understand, is that, we're made up of 3 components. And when you have body, mind, and spirit, and when you aren't actively engaging all 3 of those, because they're all intertwined, they all impact one another. When you aren't actively engaging all 3 of those aspects, your body, your mind, and your spirit, something's going to be a little bit off. And that's what when I work with men, that's what I really want them to understand, because when you embrace that reality, that's empowerment. And a lot of times we've lost that. We've given power of our life over to somebody else or something else, and we want it back.
Okay.
That's just human. That's just natural.
Okay. Okay. So enacting or enabling or otherwise tapping into the body, mind, and spirit connection so that life is just life, right? It is not just
Yeah,
right. Okay.
exactly.
Gotcha.
Exactly.
Gotcha. So you were able to come to that. And before we got here on the show, you were telling me that this really became a powerful opportunity for you during the COVID pandemic.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I'm going to go back up a little. One of my, um, I love music. I
Okay.
mean, and I love rock and roll. And
Okay.
one of my favorite bands is Pink Floyd.
Okay.
And my favorite Pink Floyd song is "Wish You Were Here" because it's got a line in that song that just every time I hear it, it just sends chills up and down my spine.
Mm-hmm.
They ask, "Did you exchange a walk-on part in the war for a lead role in a cage?" And I see too many that are just comfortable with that lead role in a cage, and they aren't willing to take that step, that what I say imperfect action, and take that walk on part in the war, because it's no secret. Life, to me, life's really a full contact sport.
Mm-hmm.
I like to say,
Yeah.
and why not just make the most out of it?
Yeah.
So let's take that imperfect action. Let's just take that step and let's just step into life and make the most of what you have to bring.
Okay. 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 Well, hey, why not? Right. Let's make it happen. Right. And so,
Yeah,
all right. So you've got this moment, you've got this quote, you've got this idea. Okay, body, mind, and spirit come together, and now you're available. COVID has released you from the bondage of this 9 to 5, right?
yeah,
If
yeah,
not by choice, by force, and now you're here, and this is happening. So let's talk about kind of the, like the nitty gritty, of like what's that process that you take your men through?
yeah. One of the first things that I really want them to embrace is a foundation,
Okay.
foundation for their life. I really want them to understand: do you believe in what you believe? Because a lot of times, if we think about it, I mean, maybe beliefs that we have been passed down through our family history. Maybe our
Sure.
great great grandpa believed it, and it just kept adding past. But
Right.
is it something we really believe?
Okay.
And I want to challenge them to come up with those, hardcore beliefs, because everything else in our life rests upon that foundation of what we believe.
Okay.
And those beliefs are what dictate everything we do. Because when the storms of life come, because they're going to come,
Yeah.
and we have that solid foundation to stand upon, we
Mm-hmm.
can withstand, what's going to come our way.
Mm-hmm.
And when we are rock solid in understanding, who we are and whose we are, that empowers us to take that next step.
Okay. All right. So it's solidifying the man, your client, down into his belief system and assuring him. So what kind of time does that take? Like how much time do you spend together and
Yeah, usually, I mean, if when someone hires me, they're serious because that's what they want. I
yeah.
really want to spend a good 2 to 3 sessions with them, really digging into that. You shouldn't
Okay.
take more than 3 sessions,
Mm-hmm.
but I just have a series of questions that I want to ask, and I want
Yeah.
them to work with
Right.
to really develop that.
Okay.
And so I mean, that's the the initial process,
Okay.
and it
Okay.
shouldn't take more. It really should not ideally take more than 3 sessions for someone to really crystallize those rock solid beliefs.
Gotcha. 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 Okay, great. So now there's a ton of coaches out here, right? I mean,
Yes,
LinkedIn is a lot of coaches like to come and hang out, and there's
it
a lot of
is.
people who need them, and
Yeah,
there's a lot of crossover. So talk to me a little bit about like how your approach or your offer. I mean, a kingdom builder is not a term that I hear a lot.
yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about how your coaching approach is and your offer is maybe different or going to
Yeah,
be appealing.
great. That was a great question. Because when we create that foundation for our life, it starts to create clarity in who we are, what we want to do, that vision that we have for ourselves of where we want to go, and that clarity is what is going to empower us to take that next step. How I came up, why I say kingdom is
Hmm.
because I see a lot of people, just not men but others, they're content on building their castle
Yeah,
and staying behind the walls of their castle.
sure.
And a castle keeps the world out.
Hmm.
It keeps you from being more than who you are. So let's break down the walls of that castle and let's build that bridge, because you have to build a bridge to get to the other side of where you want. And that kingdom that you're creating, that's something that's going to extend beyond who you are. That's something that can go to the next generation, and generation after that. And it doesn't need to be anything profound. A lot of times it's just the simple stuff that we do that people are always going to remember. You know, the analogy I like to give is, you know, I'm a person of faith, is the thief on the cross. There's two of them. We know nothing about them other than they were thieves. They were condemned to death, and they were, on the cross next to Jesus. One of them kind of rejected him, and the other, acknowledged who Jesus was, just by one simple statement. And that one simple statement is still discussed, 2,000 years later. We still remember that. That is kingdom building right there. And like I said, it's the simple. It's usually the simple things that we do that make a difference in somebody's life. Like a smile, just a kind word. That's what people remember.
Okay, all right. So it's a visualization and a real metaphor then for, that really creates a difference. This notion of, and I hopefully I captured it right with the cover page that we used for our event today. Right, it was like castles. What was it? No, I can't forget. It was castles enclosed and kingdoms include, right? And it's like this idea that, okay, I want to keep people out or I want to bring people in and I want to create something that has some lasting value. Okay.
It's like, it's the difference between living in abundance or living in scarcity.
Gotcha. Perfect. I totally resonate with all of that. All right. So now you've been my coach, right? Whew, wow, this is great. Okay, I signed up with Rob. I got my kingdom. What does that look like? And like flesh that vision out for me. Like I'm done. I've been coached. I'm ready. Who am I?
You're in motion. You're in motion with that. What I like to say, that dream you have.
Yeah.
I want to know what your dream is. And you need to declare that dream.
Okay.
Martin Luther King, he said, I have a dream. He didn't say I have a plan. I have a dream. He knew what that ultimate goal was.
Yeah.
When you have a dream, you know what that final destination is.
Okay.
It's just the journey to get there.
Yeah.
That's your uniqueness. That's your story.
Okay.
That story that inspires people. Man, I love story.
Yeah.
I love a great movie. I love a great movie that has a great story.
Okay.
And because think about some of the great movies you've seen, the great stories that go, the Star Wars, or Lord of the Rings or whatever
Napoleon.
it might be. Napoleon Dynamite. There you go. Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah.
It's the story that resonates with people, not necessarily characters, but it's the story that's being told. And we all have a story. We all have a unique story that needs to be told. The world needs to hear it because we have no idea who our story is going to impact.
Okay. So I've done my coaching with Coach Rob. I've started to build my kingdom. I get on this journey. I have my dream defined. I got my beliefs defined. I'm enabling my mind, body, and spirit to come together. All right. So how do I sign up? What does that look like? What's that process? What is that?
Yeah. What process? We just need to have a conversation. And so I offer a complimentary, what I call a breakthrough conversation.
Okay.
To see if we're a match. To see if, I feel I can work with you.
Yeah.
And I feel what I have to offer can be a benefit to you. When you feel comfortable with me, because there's nothing worse than someone hiring somebody and they just don't mesh. There's the uncomfortable and they don't mesh. That serves nobody. What serves them is somebody who's a cheerleader for them, who's willing to walk beside them, who's willing to put an arm around them when they need it, and maybe put a foot in their butt when they need that as well.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. All right. Awesome. So just get in touch with you. You'll lay out the plan. You'll make sure there's a sweet match.
Yes.
And you're off to the races. You're defining dreams, getting those beliefs nailed down. All right, man. All right. So this is our 2-minute drill. All right. Okay. Actually less. We're going to bake this sucker down into a minute. So we're going to go rapid fire here, and we're going to put this up on YouTube Shorts because that's the thing that we're supposed to do these days. All right. Here we go. All right. So once again, who is your ideal customer?
My ideal customer is a man, but in the mid 30s to mid 50s, in
Okay.
corporate, married,
Okay.
children, and life has just maybe taken his pound of flesh out of him.
Okay. And what does that mean to take a pound of flesh? What is he really feeling at night when he can't sleep? What's that look like?
Yeah, it's almost a pain. It's almost a pain that you leave the office and you're just exhausted. You drag your butt home. You're sitting in traffic, sitting in that car, and you get home and you want so much to be with your wife and children, but
You're not.
you're just disconnected because
somewhere else. Okay.
You're somewhere else.
And you came to this because you were.
I was that guy. I was
You were
that. That was me. I just felt disconnected. I wasn't being the best husband to my wife and the best father to my children.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what was important to me. And I knew I had to do something. I knew I had to change.
And how long have you been doing this coaching work now?
Really started in about 2018. It was just a little
Okay.
bit doing as a little bit of a side hustle. And as COVID happened and
All right.
everything transpired, I turned
coming up-
58.
Coming up on 5 years.
Yeah, I turned
nice.
58. I'm like, you know what? It's time to just take my imperfect action step and let's see where this leads me.
Okay. And then your offer is different because?
Well, I'm there with you. I'm going to walk beside you. I'm going to cheerlead you. And I want to see you become that best version. I want your, secret sauce to come out. And I want that story to be created for you to become that best version of who you are.
Yeah.
But you want to be.
Awesome. All right, man. We're going to call it a day at that. I thank you for your time. I love it that you were able to come on the show and tell us what you're about, what it means to men to build kingdoms. And with that, we are going to sign right off.